This podcast is also available in French, German, Russian, and Lilat. Good luck.
Hello and welcome to Weeds. Not Weed, yes, Weeds. I'm James.
I'm Manny.
I'm Tom.
I'm Jason.
And whether home, at school, at work, or wiping out space pirates in a Phazon-induced frenzy, this is the best Nintendo podcast for news, reviews and discussion delivered straight to your hard drive. You're listening to the Weeds Podcast, episode 28, recorded on Tuesday the 4th of September 2007. I have three people with me and you know them by now. The first up is Manish the Man Patel. How are you this week?
Absolutely fantastic.
Good. It's nice to have you 2 weeks in a row without your computer crashing.
Yeah, it's good to
And
be
we will be
officially
ripping
back.
on you that on that for the next few months.
Okay.
I also have Tom, insert nickname here, Rutland, with me. How are you this week?
I'm excellent, thanks, James.
Good, good. I'm still a bit disappointed because we haven't got a nickname for you yet. Listeners, come on, up the game here. We can't do all the work for you. And hailing from the Highlands, Jason the Brother Davidson.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good, it's good. Okay, coming up, we have the hottest Nintendo news stories of the last week and our accompanying discussion, followed by what we have been playing. No, I lie, I've just remembered we've changed the order, followed by the online section. This week's main discussion is a look into the importance of art in video games, and we'll follow up with your opinions on our previous topics. Finally, we'll be finishing off with our usual segments, including what we've been playing in the right place, and virtual console releases. All that and more to come, so stay tuned. You can email us at weedspodcast@gmail.com, and if you register the full version of this address in your Wii address book, weedspodcast@googlemail.com, we will send a message to your Wii informing you when the next episode is out. I know this works because it now happens on my Wii, and I'm really quite entertained by that in a really childish way. You can join the boards at www.weedsforum.com, where you can chat with fellow listeners, the hosts, leave us feedback on the show, get involved in the main discussions, make suggestions, and so forth. There's just too damn much to do there. Also check out our MySpace page at www.myspace.com/theweedspodcast. We really should get into Facebook as well, shouldn't we?
We should. Perhaps a group.
That's where it's at.
Perhaps we will do that. And don't forget to check out our website, www.weedspodcast.com, where you will find blogs of the hosts, any videos you've sent in, and more importantly, updates and previews of each episode before they come out. Quick announcement, I've got a shout out to American listeners. I was sitting on my laptop the other day, and I fiddling around with the iTunes Store, and I found that I can now access the US iTunes Store. I'm a bit slow. And we've got some reviewers over there as well. I have only seen the English reviews so far. Over there, we have an average of 4.5 stars, whereas here, we're only 3.
Wow.
Well, that's incredible.
Clearly, we are appealing to the Yanks more than we are our own people.
Maybe it's the British voice.
It might be. I mean, you got to love our accent, haven't you? So I want to offer a big shout out and a big thank you to Daijo Cool, Link to Zelda, Plixin, Zabari, and Rockask ... I say ... because I couldn't get his full name because iTunes started playing up at that point. So thank you very much, and I'm actually going to have to check out all the other sites like the French
Zimbabwe
one.
store.
The French like us. Yeah, exactly. I wonder if Japanese listeners. I wonder if there's any Japanese listeners. Okay, moving into our first news story of the night. Worms on Wii. THQ has announced that the long-running Worms franchise will be coming to Wii in an all-new exclusive game. Worms: A Space Oddity, currently penned in for a spring 2008 release, will see the diminutive helium-voiced creatures wielding their ever-outlandish and devastating weapons across the galaxy. The Wii Remote will be used to launch attacks through a wide range of gesture-based movements. THQ have also promised single-player missions accompanied by party games and online multiplayer that supports up to 4 players. Yes, thank you! I love Worms!
Oh yes. Fantastic.
I absolutely love Worms. I've picked up Worms Open Warfare 2. I'll go on about that later, but this I could not be more excited about. I mean, are you guys Worms fans?
Yeah, James, I'm absolutely ecstatic about it because I've been playing Worms back in the days of the PS1 and it's just a dream come true. And we had it on the Dreamcast and there was a little bit of online, but it was very limited. And now, of course, we have it on the DS, and that's online too. But now for the Wii, and this is like 4 players, and with the Wii controller being utilised in some way, shape, or form, I think it's a great idea.
Now you say that, but I'm a little worried when they say a wide-based range of gesture-based movements. That sounds to me like swinging it or throwing grenades and stuff. And yeah, that sounds quite cool, but I hope they include the option for simple point and click, because the Wii is built for this.
Yeah, when it says wide range, it sounds a little bit worrying. But I mean, I don't mind a few gestures if they're needed. But there's some things that a lot of games of recent do that just aren't right at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just worried about them trying to use the motion sensing for the sake of it. They don't need to. The point is, Wii is a point and click console. It's a point and click console as well as the fact that it's a motion sensing console. And Worms is a point and click game. So yes, this has got to be good. This has got to be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you could use the Wiimote quite easily as a mouse for the game because that's essentially what it used to be used as on the previous titles.
Exactly. Okay, Wii sells 1 million. The latest Chartrack figures reveals that a Nintendo Wii is sitting in 1 million homes throughout the UK, making it the fastest-selling console in our country's history. The motion-sensitive console surpassed the 1 million milestone in just 38 weeks, outselling former record holder PlayStation 2, which took 50 weeks to achieve the same sales, and next-generation competitor Xbox 360, which took a full 60 weeks to reach 1 million in the UK. Now, we discussed this, I think it was last week or the week before. We knew it was coming, and it's here. And I didn't realise it was that big a deal. Less than 40 weeks to sell 1 million, and the 360, which feels like it's more popular, took an extra third of that time.
Yeah, well, I think it's now safe to say that it is in fact the quickest, the fastest selling console ever. I think
it is
of this generation and of last generation.
Yeah, that's certainly a lot of units shipped, or not shipped, sorry, sold in 38 weeks. Considering the PlayStation 2 is the one that everyone has. It's the one that everyone knows more than 5 people with a PlayStation 2, and it just seems crazy to think that the Wii could become that big in
absolutely
more months to come.
I mean, they hail the fact that casual gamers are buying this and non-gamers are buying the Wii, but I know countless non-gamers who owned a PlayStation 2 for things like iToy, Buzz, Dance Mats. So the idea of non-gamers buying a console isn't that new. PlayStation 2 essentially started that, but Wii has just completely outdone it.
Yeah, it sold the equivalent of 3,759 consoles a day since launch.
Jesus.
And now, am I the only who thinks, how on earth can they do this with such small stock?
Yeah, I don't get this. I mean, we said this the other week, didn't we? How on earth can they be achieving this sort of sales if you can't get it? Having said that, since we recorded that, whenever we said it, I've been working at my local Tesco's. Now, my local Tesco's has an absolutely crap games section. Absolutely rubbish. We only did, we do the top 20 PS2 games, top 10 Xbox 360, top 10 Wii, top 10 DS, top 10 PSP. PS2 is the only console that we really sell. And yet I've seen pretty much every shift I've gone in, and I only work 3 shifts a week, I grant you, but every shift I've gone in over the last 2 weeks, I have seen one customer go up to the customer service and ask for a Wii, and someone has gone out the back, and they've come out with this box. Now, I don't go to that part of the warehouse, so I didn't know we had those. If I had, I would be smuggling them out and selling them on. But, it's so the stock is out there, but I don't know. I don't know why some places aren't getting it.
Yeah, the same thing happened to at my Tesco's. This woman came to get Wii, and her face was like, "Oh, have you got one?" Like thinking we're going to say no, and then we're like, "Yeah, we got two." And she absolutely went mad, like jubilation. She was like jumping up and down, and she had no kids with her or anything, or her husband or anything. But you could just see how happy she was. And when she got it, she was like bubbling with excitement, like a little kid. It was so weird to see. She was like 32 or something. It shows that it's hitting a new demographic. Definitely soccer mums are buying into it.
Best one I remember was literally the day of launch. I remember that, like, the day of launch, I rushed out to get my Wii after uni before work. So I had like an hour's window to get home, get a Wii, and get to work in time. And I got there and I managed it, and I set up my Wii, and I didn't get a chance to play it. I went straight to work, and I was wandering up and down the store, and this little boy came up to me, goes, and like he's down the DVD aisle, and he's looking lost. And I thought, oh, he's lost his parents or something. He looked up at me, he goes, "Do you have a Nintendo Wii?" And it broke my heart. I was like, "I'm really sorry, we don't have it. We don't sell it in this store." He goes, "Okay." And he walked away. It's like, I've just ruined his December because we haven't got a Nintendo Wii in our store. It was it was heartbreaking stuff.
It really shows how big the demand is, because it's not really hard. Isn't that hard to make a Wii compared to a 360 and PS3? Yet they're still having trouble keeping with demand. And now, like, I think in America they're starting to keep up with it. I think it outsold the DS last month in America, which is a big deal. That is huge. I mean, DS is like a steam train, and the Wii's coming.
DS sells like hotcakes.
Yeah, Wii's gonna start outselling DS now. Now that's gonna be interesting. If you imagine the Wii surpassing the DS sales eventually.
Yeah, that will be incredible. It's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually.
I don't know. Because handhelds are cheaper and more. They appeal to more people. You know,
Very true.
Like, you know, when in this generation, most kids, well, especially for me, because I'm the youngest host, that most kids' first console was cheaper because, you know, their parents didn't know they liked video gaming. It was my first real introduction to it, and I had a Game Boy Color. You know, because they never used to be so big back then. The first big console was the NES, wasn't it? And you didn't have a handheld, companion to it like the DS.
To be honest, at Tesco, I haven't seen much kids buy it. It's mostly been like students and adults. So I don't know if it is kids buying these or adults buying them for themselves, but then the kids just enjoying them because, you know, it's like a family console.
We're going to go off tangent here, and I have to apologise to the listeners for this, but I have to get this out. I was sitting on the train into London the other day. I was playing Pokemon on my DS, and a bloke was sitting on the other side of the carriage from me, also playing a DS, and I thought he was playing Pokemon. And I couldn't bring myself to say, "Hey, do you want a game, mate? You know, or do you want a multiplayer?" And I couldn't bring myself to do it. Likewise, back when I was at uni, I passed someone playing Mario Kart, knowing that I had my DS in my bag, and I didn't say, "Hey, do you want a multiplayer?" Now, am I the only one who feels embarrassed to ask people for a multiplayer?
No, I think we're all like that.
Well, if I see...
It's a little bit awkward, I think, yeah.
I never usually ask someone but at school, but I don't usually have it on me at school, but I do walk past someone and say, "Oh, good game," quite loudly if I walk past them and they're playing a good game, or if someone's reading Harry Potter, I'll go, "Oh, good book." Top book.
Yeah, I think everyone does that, yeah.
Well
so
done,
they
Tom.
can hear my
13 minutes
approval.
and you've already got a Harry Potter reference in there.
I had to get it in there, every episode.
You had to, well done. Moving on very quickly. The Wii outsells PS3 3-1. The latest Enterbrain figures show the gap between Wii and PS3 sales in Japan is starting to narrow, as there are now 3 units of Wii for every 1 PS3 unit in Japanese homes, despite the fact that the Wii was outselling PS3 by 6-1 as little as 2 months ago. The figures show that Nintendo have sold 3.4 million Wiis in Japan so far, while PS3 has now reached 1.1 million mark. Now, does that mean that the PS3 is now more appealing, or have Wii sales just dropped? That can't be right.
No, I don't know. I think like the overall wow factor of the whole, release, I think it's kind of worn off a little bit. But I think for any console that gets released, no matter what it is, that always happens. But to be honest, I mean, I don't want to sound a little bit fanboyish or sort of joke about it, but I think most Japanese gamers, well, especially from launch, they bought the PS3 just purely to sell on eBay and make a profit, and that was that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's still happening now, but I think if you popped onto eBay, I think you'd probably see quite a few PS3s, particularly the 80GB model or the 60GB model, whatever one, selling for quite a high price.
Okay, I think it's more like, I think Tom said this to me earlier. He said that he thinks that almost everyone in Japan who wanted a Wii has got one now.
I was exaggerating.
I know, but still, it's still a point that the people who wanted it initially, have all got
I've
one.
got it.
Yeah.
But the same can be true of Britain and America, because Japan's not like, if there are supply problems like we've got over in America, they're going to have the same supply problems in Japan. It's not a supply problem as in getting it to the shops. It's the problem of they can't manufacture them quickly enough. And I recently heard that then they've found that they're unable to buy or build new manufacturing plants. So they're still coming out of the same factories that they're using now. So they're still using the same number of factories they're using now, which, to be fair, have probably been scaled down because they didn't sell that many GameCubes. So in that way, because the GameCube was selling so poorly, they've probably scaled down the number of buildings they've got producing Wiis. And now that there's this huge demand, they can't buy any more buildings, which is daft given how much they're selling. So who knows? Perhaps they'll buy some new factories later, and they'll be able to up this. But for now,
well, I think with the money with the money that they're making now, and it's going at an incredible rate, I really can't see why they couldn't just drop a few pennies here and there, which is a couple of like half a million now. I mean, that's nothing to Nintendo now, especially with the amount of profit that they're making on the Wii now. Just to open up a few smaller factories that can support the bigger ones that are needed for all the drought that's in certain parts of each country.
Maybe it's everyone buying PS3 before it disappeared, like that one they want, it disappears and all the features are gone, because it seems like all the features are slowly dropping out after after new PS3 model has been announced, like emotion
very
engine.
True. Very true.
Soon it'll have no
that's
6
a
axes.
whole new can of worms.
It'll have rumble instead of
There's
6 axes. I'm like, no, can't play Lair. Oh.
I have heard that anyone who's recommended that if someone recommends that you should buy a PS3, he's recommending that you buy the version out now, because within a while they're going to drop it. What with the new 80 gig version dropping the emotion chip, but that's a whole...
Yeah, and it's a massive con anyway.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know what Sony are doing. They just keep releasing consoles. Microsoft are doing the same, though. They've got the Elite and then HDMI and a Halo.
This is the whole problem of the multi-console release. If you're going to release more than one machine... The Wii currently is the only machine...
One SKU, that's it, one SKU.
Exactly, one SKU, and you buy it and you get exactly what it says on the tin. With the other ones, and they've said this on the Cranky Gamers, with the other ones, the ordinary man in the street does not know what the difference is between the core and the premium 360s, or the 60 gig and the 80 gig PS3s. They don't understand all that technobabble. All they want is the games machine that their little kid is not shutting up about. With the Wii, you get that. With the others, you don't.
Yes, you alienate a market in effect by doing this, because your average Joe in the street isn't going to know which one to get, and then might think, you know what, there's only one Wii, I'll get one of those, because it might confuse them to say, oh, I don't want to get this one if it can't play this, and I don't want to get this one if it doesn't do that, and they just don't know which one to choose. So I think it is definitely a good ploy by Nintendo, if it's even a ploy, just to release one for the moment, and they've only got one colour, so it's almost like perhaps you might say communism. Everyone's the same.
Absolutely. I mean, the golden rule here to remember is average Joe is stupid. That's why he's average.
Fair enough.
But...
Or in this generation, below average.
Absolutely.
But, to have lots of SKUs, you're just splintering your market further. I mean, now you've got the people with cores without hard drives, you've got people with hard drives. Now you're going to have people with 128 gigabyte hard drives and HDMI. So, in effect, when they bring out a game on Xbox 360... people don't know how they're going to be viewing it, or in what resolution, or if they got hard drive or not. Because I think that in the next 2 years we're going to start seeing games which only you need the hard drive to play it, and those people with the cores are going to get screwed over, to be honest.
And I think this is a good argument against all the rumours that Nintendo are going to release a Wii with a hard drive or a Wii with DVD playback. They shouldn't, because then that again it skews out, it splinters your audience, like Manny said. So
it's selling already. There's no need to.
Exactly. I personally accept the fact that it doesn't have a DVD player. I accept the fact that the memory is pretty much non-existent. If they're going to release a hard drive later on, they will do, and it'll be an add-on rather than a built-in one, because I don't want to have bought this at launch. I am a faithful Nintendo gamer. I have bought this at launch. I don't want to have to find out a year or so later that I need to buy another one because I didn't get the full package.
Yes, Nintendo still deny greatly that they are planning on releasing a DVD playing attachment. Oh no, sorry, not a DVD playing attachment, a hard drive for the Wii, and they say it's not necessary. You've got SD cards, you've got built-in memory, and for your average gamer, or not sorry, your average gamer, your average casual gamer, which is their new market that they're embracing, they don't buy that many games, and they enjoy the ones they've got. They don't rush through them in 2 days. They let them go out for longer, so they don't need to at the moment. And to be honest, I've not run out of space yet, and I don't see myself doing so for quite a long time. What about you guys?
I don't know, but well, my theory on it is that they probably won't release any form of external hard drive that specifically cater to the Wii. What I think will happen is that they will release some kind of update that initially will allow you to almost connect some sort of external hard drive that has some sort of connection that's just plug in and play, and it's very easy to use, and you can use the memory on that, and you can just save all your your game saves and any downloadable content that may happen in the future for the Wii, so that because I mean eventually you've got 2,000 blocks on your Wii for memory save. So I mean obviously the Wii, but it just seems to me as if it's, I mean, okay, I've got about 10 virtual console games at the moment, but I just can't see it's going to last me that long. I mean, after I hit a certain point, the memory is going to run out. So I'm thinking, what else are they going to do? And they have to do something about it. So for tech-savvy people like myself that are really into the tech side of things, I think that's because it was something that they were sort of thinking about. But yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go without also damaging the values of trying to separate between the the hardcore and the casual.
You were speaking about like the casual getting Wiis, but like I don't think even all the hardcore have got the Wiis that they want yet. Because what's telling is that I told Jason about this, but in Leipzig, when they showed like all those 360 games and PS3 games, like their booths and stuff, like the one booth that was crowded around, like loads of people were crowded around it, was Wii Sports, and Wii Sports is out.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that the console is not they can't keep up with demand still, like that people go to these events and play Wii Sports. Sorry, I just have to explain that I can't believe that there's Call of Duty 4 to play, Halo 3, Mass Effect, and everyone's playing Wii Sports.
I can't believe it either.
It shows how much the industry's changing.
It does.
Okay, last major news story, Logitech to rival Wiimote. A report on GamesIndustry.biz this week revealed that Logitech will soon announce a new peripheral that could challenge the Wii Remote. UK and Ireland country manager Chris Spearing claimed that the company hopes to have at least one product out for the Wii this year. He said, having the motion sensing in the six axis, that really works for some games. And for the Wii, you've seen people rush out and buy the Wii for that realism. If you're swinging a tennis racket, you know how to do it. Hopefully we'll be at the forefront of pushing that further, combining some of the two. However, he was clear that, although new peripherals such as the Wii Remote have been effective, there's plenty to improve on. If you couldn't improve on it, he said, we wouldn't be in business, and that's the same for all products. What do you guys think of this?
Well, I just want to say, well, Jason, you explain. Tell them about Real Play from Sony.
Yeah, that's right, Manny. They've actually got something which we've just been recently sort of demoed and announced, that you basically got, how shall I put it? It's a case of Sony almost like bringing out a Wii like peripherals. Like you've got a golf club, you've got a tennis racket, you've got a steering wheel, and they're all separate little gizmos with motion sensitive technology in them for the PS2. And they're bringing out a game for each one, and they're selling it in packages. Now, to me, I could not believe that. That was just incredible. I was thinking,
dear God,
what the fuck are they doing? And it's just, and they've also even got me. I mean, even the games are similar. They've got tennis, but just like a more realistic version of Wii Tennis, and then you've got bowling, which is a more graphical version of with all the gangsters that they bowling and stuff at a bowling alley to be more accessible, supposedly. And then you've got some sort of racing game that's like a half-assed version of Ridge Racer with like some sort of steering wheel that's wireless. It just seems to me as if Sony are really desperate, and the fact that they're losing a lot of money on their PS3, it's like, oh, what can we do? Oh yes, we have some kind of, we can copy the Wii, yeah, we can bring in all these peripherals like the Wii has done, and we can make millions on it. Beautiful. And that's what they're doing. They're just trying to cash in on the success of the Wii. But at the same time, I really think that they may get sued for this because it looks far too similar in the context of the software and the hardware. It just looks far too similar.
I'd just like to add in, as a little light-hearted moment, Jason's impression reminded me of the orange adverts that you see before a film in the cinema.
Oh, I love those.
Orange Wednesdays!
It just reminded me 100% of them. I don't know why, I don't know how. UK listeners, write in. Tell us if you agree.
Absolutely. I'm just glad he didn't imitate Sony as Arnold Schwarzenegger again. I mean, for me, this sounds to me like Sony's actually been listening to the press, because a number of the podcasts I listen to, one up yours as a prevalent example, have said that the major competition for the Wii is not the 360, is not the PS3, it's the PS2, because the PS2 is still selling. And I think this is actually a key thing about Sony. Yes, they may be struggling with the PS3, but unlike Microsoft and Nintendo, they haven't dropped their previous console. You still get major titles coming out on that PS2. You've still got, like, all the usual movie tie-ins are coming out. You've still got, this is now coming out. The PS2 is still outselling the PS3 in some places. So I can understand the thinking behind this. I just think this is, they're really playing it dangerously here, having revealed 6-axis only like 3-4 months after Nintendo revealed about the motion sensing control in the Wii Remote, to now bring out games that are based on Wii Sports, and there's no denying it's based on Wii Sports. That is not a fanboy, that is a fact. If you're going to come up with a motion sensing game based on sports, and someone else comes out with it, it's automatically going to be branded as copying. Same comes for other genres. So if you create Tony Hawk's and someone else comes up with a skateboarding game, you're going to say, oh, that's copying Tony Hawk's. They are copying. This is a knee-jerk reaction to the Wii sales. The only thing I would say about this is that it just shows how much Nintendo has shaken up the industry, that everyone, both Sony and Microsoft, are trying to think of ways that they can catch up with this, because Wii has completely caught them off guard.
There's more, James. They're releasing a slim white PlayStation 2 along with it as well.
Oh no, I know about the slimline
Okay.
PSP, and
No,
from what I hear, it isn't that much slimmer
Not the PSP.
than the normal PSP.
Slim PS2. They're releasing that with the real play
Oh,
stuff for
for the
Christmas.
love of
So a
Pete.
white console, which is slim.
Oh, wow.
And I wonder what that's like.
Why can they not just bugger off?
They provide us with amusement, James.
I can't believe they still pretend that they came up with motion control and all this stuff still.
It's funny to see how things have soured between Sony and Nintendo, given that 10 years ago they were working on a console together.
That's what happens, isn't it?
Exactly.
You get difference in opinions. Like, we want to use CD-ROM, we want to use cartridge. Headache.
Yeah, sorry, I was just wanting to say that Sony did in fact take out a patent quite a few number of months ago, and of course it was leaked at some point, which I'm not really sure when, but it definitely was. And if you do look on the internet, it's definitely there on motion sensing technology. And this is the outcome, and this is what they've produced after those several months back when they were talking about considering motion sensing capabilities. And in my theory, the PS2 essentially is the reason why they're still, bringing out games for that and variations of their PS3 and Xbox 360 titles. Like we have Guitar Hero 3 getting their own version of that, and Rock Band and so forth. Is that it's like their lifeline. It's like if the PS3 doesn't, if it dies, and which it looks like it's going that way, but if it really did keel over and it lost in the war, I could really see them just keeping the PS2 as its final lifeline to make money off of it, to milk it, so that that they have some sort of stability to fall back on. To me, that's just the way I see it.
And essentially, I mean, the PS2 is earning money. It's another division of Sony that is earning the money to support the losses they're making on PS3. Okay, moving on to any other news. Manny, I believe you found something interesting this week.
German gaming website Gamefront, they reported that Nintendo had filed for some new trademarks, and they've protected some old ones. And they are Nintendo Magic, Wii Body Controller, Mii Audition, Mii Contest Channel, Soma Bringer, Wii Handle, and Pikmin. And I thought it was quite interesting because I think only in episode 26, Nippon, our man in Japan, was talking about Pikmin coming top on a poll of the the best, I mean, the most wanted franchises to like return, and now Nintendo have just protected that Pikmin license again. So I don't know what you guys think.
It's definitely promising that they're listening to such polls, and it's good news. But I feel it's no surprise. You know, Pikmin was surprisingly popular, despite being quite underrated. I mean, like, all the people I know didn't approve much of it, but from what I saw, it was a really good game. And the Wii is the console where you could really, really unleash its full potential. We always knew it was going to come out, Pikmin Wii, but this just reaffirms that, and I'm really glad to hear about this.
Yeah, I'm in more or less the same frame of mind as well, because with the Wiimote's capabilities, you could definitely, and in fact, I think it could even extend beyond its current appeal, because of the fact that it, like you said, James, it did not sell that well at all, and it was very underrated and very unpopular. And this might give it a chance to kind of shine almost, for a prequel, so to speak. And I think, I mean, I'm actually quite a big fan of the series, and I thought it was like a really, really original title. And of course, as Miyamoto said once, is that a lot of the inspiration for the title originally was from his garden, and just sitting in his garden and growing vegetables and looking at them, and that's where his imagination sparked from. So I think we could definitely see something promising in the future.
I do hope that the Wii Body Controller isn't the new name for the Wii Fit board, because I don't like that name at all.
Oh wow, that would be really
Wrong.
depressing.
I don't know what the hell Soma Bringer is there. Anyone got any ideas?
Not a clue. I saw that one on your list, and I just didn't have a clue what that could be. It sounds like it might be like a new game title rather than like an actual peripheral, so we will have to find out. It might. It sounds like something very, very Japanese.
Yeah, very.
So it might even be a Japan-only thing. Something we'll have to ask Alex about that.
Oh wait, I've just found something new. Nintendo Magic is actually a game that was released in Japan called Magic Taisen. Majiku Taisen. I don't know. It's a magical magician simulation for DS. So they've just patented that name, so that's what they're going to call it when it releases in US on November 26th.
Sounds good. You can catch Manny's list and his thoughts on weedspodcast.com, along with a little discovery I made this week. I was in the Tesco canteen the day that the Wii Hits a Million story broke, and it was on the Daily Mirror's financial page, and they said, and I say this without a word of a lie, they actually said the console has sold because of games like Super Mario Galaxy and interactive sports titles. Now, did I miss something, or do they have a copy of Super Mario Galaxy that we don't have?
That's just bad journalism.
That is just, I mean, come on,
It's
do
so
your research.
shoddy.
I know you're not a games publication, but come on. I mean, the amount of people on websites and podcasts, including us, that are whining that Super Mario Galaxy is out. You can stroll down to your local game station and or your local game, or your local HMV, for Christ's sakes, and see that there isn't a Super Mario Galaxy on the shelves.
That is really, really poor. That is just poor.
It's a
Shame on
tabloid.
them.
Maybe, did they mean it like to be on the shelf, or did they mean as in the hype for it?
No, they said that it's one of the games that has sold, that has helped the Wii sell 1 million consoles.
Oh
Which is
dear. That is
So-
bad.
That's bad.
Bad.
Indeed. You can catch more of that on the website, and to lead us through the website, we're now going to move into the online section.
Welcome to Masters Luigi, who has joined the forums this week. We also welcome Stevie P's back to the fold after a short stint away from the forums. Now, for the latest website updates. I'd have a lot more to say in this section if Manny and James didn't steal the website updates for their own segments. I guess that just shows how good our site is for news. We do have one announcement regarding the website this week, which is that Alex, aka Nippon, and the rest of the hosts will be voicing their opinions on every main discussion on the website every week. You can check this out at www.weedspodcast.com. Let's move on to the forum. What's been the best topic this week? I've personally liked looking through the bargain bucket thread. What have you guys enjoyed?
Yeah, no, that was a good thread. But it made me think, I haven't really used the bargain bucket much. I really should look in the bargain bucket more. But I tend to go straight and buy the games off the shelves.
Well, so do I, but I do. When I go into Game, my local store, the only game store I've got locally that sells first-hand games is Game. Whenever I go in there, I do look in the bargain bucket, although that seems to have disappeared. since the last time I went in there, which was last week. But I always do delve in because they've got, you know, peripherals and little things to protect your DS, Wiimote skins, for up to like £2 often. So you can get a good bargain, and you do see a lot of old games in there sometimes that you might have missed out on before. What topics have you guys liked, or are there any other you'd like to mention?
I'm trying to think. I mean, the videotape has been doing more polls for us. He's been he's been looking into who owns what Nintendo consoles, and it's quite interesting to see like how varied it is. Now, obviously, like quite a few people own the Wii and the DS, obviously, but it's interesting seeing how many people own the NES, the SNES, the N64. So bring yourselves in. Personally, I like the fact that we've got the odd post your picture up thread back again. It's not as big as it used to be like last time on the old forums, but I love those threads where you get to see what people look like and try and establish whether or not they live up to your expectations. I mean, one of the pictures on there is Kid Dog, who we had as a guest on a couple of weeks ago, and is the host of Cranky Gamers, and he looks completely different
Oh, wow.
to what I thought he looked like.
I didn't expect him to look like that either. I'm just looking at the thread now. You see, but you can never expect what anyone will look like on the internet. Every time you expect them to look like something, they look completely different. The email inbox has been quiet this week, but the forums have been active, and we prefer that, don't we? Because an email is a one-off, whereas the forums, you come back and back again. But that being said, we still do appreciate emails, so please send us one in. You can visit the forums at www.weedsforum.com. You can view our news at our blog at www.weedspodcast.com, and you can email us at weedspodcast@gmail.com. That's WIIDSPODCAST@gmail.com.
And we're now going to move on to our main discussion. One of the greatest and more consistent criticisms of the Wii is that it cannot hope to stand up to the graphical superiority of other consoles, sparking an ongoing graphics versus gameplay debate. While the issue still rages, the recent release of Metroid Prime 3 Corruption in America has induced some very provocative comments, in that the game is being hailed as a triumph over artistry over graphics, and that it can hold its own against any next-gen title. Bold claims indeed, but do you guys think there is any worth behind them? I mean, is an artistic style more important than detailed graphics?
Yeah, James.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to butt in there and say, definitely. I've been at college for several years, and I take art, and I absolutely believe that artistry is far more important than graphical capabilities and the hardware that it's on. I mean, okay, the Wii isn't. I mean, compared to 360 and PSV, it is very. It just doesn't compare in terms of overall horsepower and CPU. But with Metroid Prime 3, we can definitely see that it's pushing the hardware to its absolute limits, and it's doing some really clever things, you know, with the lighting and whatnot, and the textures and some sort of filtering and stuff. But yeah, I think definitely, you know, artistry. But it depends. I mean, if you take a game like Gears of War, for example, it is going for a very photorealistic, you know, a bit of imagery, and I find that, you know, that's fine. I mean, and I've got an Xbox 360. The graphics are great, but I don't feel graphics are everything. Graphics are just something that adds to the experience, but it's not everything to me. I mean, I can still go back and, you know, go to my SNES, for heaven's sake, and still enjoy a game of Super Mario, you know, Brothers 3. So no, I think artistry, in my opinion, is definitely goes beyond graphical capabilities.
Exactly. I mean, graphics are essentially what draws you to the box, what draws you to the screen. And yeah, I mean, any newcomer to games, or any, you know, hardcore gamer will look at Metroid Prime 3, will look at Gears of War and think, right, Gears of War looks better, that's the better title, but you want substance. My argument in the whole artistry over graphics thing would be that if you're trying to be more artistic rather than being more realistic, you can be much more ambitious with things like the colour, the effects, the shapes of stuff. You know, Gears of War, the one thing that struck... I mean, yeah, I played it, and yeah, it was good fun, but the one thing that struck me is it's very, very brown, and apparently nowadays, real is brown, whereas Metroid Prime, every world you go to, Metroid Prime 1, Metroid Prime 2, and Metroid Prime 3, from what I've seen, are very, very colourful, very vibrant, they feel very out of this world. which is what the game is meant to be. You're meant to be feeling like you're completely out of this world. It immerses you in another galaxy.
Yes, that's right, James. I absolutely believe that. I mean, if every world is definitely different from the next, and Gears of War just doesn't have that. I mean, overall, I think when you have a system like PS3 and Xbox 360, I mean, if you take MotorStorm and Resistance Fall of Man for the PS3, and you take a game like BioShock, for example, and I've got BioShock, and it's a fantastic looking game, and it plays, it's an absolutely brilliant game, stunning. But I just think that when it comes to hardware and its overall power, that sometimes you can kind of get the sense that, in this generation that started, that more people are kind of getting almost oversaturated with the graphic capabilities of a system. And I just feel, and I'm not going to say graphic wars, but I just feel as if people are getting a little bit, graphics, uber graphics mean, fantastic gameplay, which is not the case. I mean, there's lots of great looking games. For one of recent, Lair, yeah, and I feel, that, and that's on PS3, and that is just a really terrible game. It plays awfully. It really is a bad game.
I'm say I've heard really bad reviews of Lair, and I played Lair back in January. I played a tech demo of Lair back in January when I went to see the PS3, and it was appalling. It was horrible. It was all brown. The controls weren't fantastic, and it was the ugliest game going, despite the fact that it had these really real graphics. Now you look at something like
Rogue
Wii
Squadron.
Sports, or no, like you look at something like Wii Sports or Rayman Rabbids or Mario Party 8, or something slightly more, much more colourful, and that's it's a much better game to play than Lair is, because Lair just looks horrible and therefore makes you feel horrible when playing it, whereas Wii Sports, Mario Party, they're all welcoming, so you're more interested in playing. The Rabbids out of Rayman, I'm a huge fan of them, as everyone knows. I'm not a huge fan of the game, but I love the Rabbids themselves. If they did realistic rabbits, they wouldn't have the same effect as these cartoony, artistic style rabbits, would they?
No, not at all, James. I just feel that now that we're getting into this point where a lot of people think that that photorealism is extremely impressive, and it can be, to a lot of people. A lot of people prefer photorealistic games, and that's fine. That's their taste. That's their, that's what their tastes aspire and acquire to. That's absolutely fine. But I just find that the bottom line is that artistry with upcoming games like Mushroom Men, which is a brilliant looking game, and No More Heroes, and these games that don't obviously rely on lots of with realism in mind. It's very fantasy, it's very off the wall type of stuff. But essentially stuff like that is it opens up lots of possibilities for any developer to do what they want. It gives them the freedom of expression in their art, in their design, and in the context of everything that a game follows. And I just find that when you have a game like Gears of War, or you have Ghost Recon 2, or BioShock, I find that it's very limiting in its freedom of expression and design overall. When you have something that's just photorealism, or just to create. I mean, okay, realistic games can immerse you, but for me, I play games to have fun and to avoid the real world, not to be reinserted back into some realistic environment where you've got you're lifting weights and you're trying to build your biceps and your friggin' triceps, and I just that's just not for me, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, Mushroom Men, you mentioned to me when we was talking a couple of days ago, and you showed it to me, and I was really, really impressed by what I saw. And it wasn't next-gen graphics; it was because it looked quite good. It was a whole new. I think it really boils down to where the game is based. Games based in reality, they depend on ultra realistic graphics to appeal to their audience. Whereas Mushroom Men is based on walking edible mushrooms. It's not realistic exactly, so they can have more fun with the artistic style. The result is it's a more creative, more ambitious project. Now, the argument there is that I would argue that games based in reality don't have to be based on ultra-realistic graphics. You look at Time Splitters. Now, granted, it's a sci-fi title because you've got time travel, obviously, and aliens, obviously, but many of the levels are based in real-world situations. You've got the Wild West, you've got the Cold War, you've got the gangsters, the gangster area, but all of the models aren't ultra realistic. They're this really cartoony caricatures.
That's right.
It's a really great style, and it makes Time Splitters stand out so much more from other games like it. Now, it was developed by the people like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. GoldenEye and Perfect Dark didn't stand out from each other because they were both trying to look realistic back in the N64 days. Time Splitters 2 stands out on its own. Time Splitters, the series on its own, stands out from the crowd because of its own style, because it's got its own unique style. If you show me a picture of a soldier from Medal of Honor and a picture of a soldier from Call of Duty, I will not be able to tell you which one's which. But if you show me a soldier from a Time Splitters level in an army, like in an army period, I will know exactly that is a Time Splitters game.
Yeah, absolutely, James. I mean, just on the subject of Time Splitters 2 there, I absolutely agree. I mean, with Time Splitters series had I mean, obviously, I'm not sure who did the character designs and level designs and whatnot, but had a fantastic graphical style. Stylistically, it was very bold and very strong, and it really exaggerated many proportions of its characters, and it was just really off the wall, and it just went all over the place. I mean, you had skin textures. Okay, it wasn't realistic to that degree, but it took all those real world situations with the sci-fi element and really just took the genre of the first-person shooter and just took it to somewhere else, visually, and it was just really, although it wasn't realistic and it didn't immerse you in the way that Gears of War does, but it took you to another place, which is why, at the end of the day, in my opinion, which is where some of the best games they take you to worlds that you've never seen before, not ones that you're already familiar with.
Yeah, and that is exactly what gaming is all about. It's about going to other worlds. I don't like games like The Sims or Crazy Taxi or anything. That's too realistic. Well, perhaps not Crazy Taxi, but games firmly rooted in the world and what gamers have access to. I'm not bothered by. I don't want to, design people that can clear a house, because the reason I'm playing video games is so that I don't have to clear my house. I want to go out and I want to save the world. I want to go out, I want to take on aliens. And if a decent artistic style is what's going to be required to draw me into that more than graphics, then I'm going to be impressed with that. Zelda, it has to be said, is a prime example of how artistry can vary across a series, so you don't even have to stick to the same style. Artistry can, vary over a series and still draw you in. If you compare the two GameCube Zeldas, i.e. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I know Twilight Princess is a Wii game as well, but I'm just using it from a single console perspective. You've got two games on the same console there, both completely different styles, but both draw you in. The Wind Waker's style is so overly simplistic, when compared to like the later title, Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess went for that realism, and it was really good, but there was still an artistic twinge to it. Wind Waker really dove in, and it was like watching a cartoon or a Disney movie. You looked at it and you thought of art, because instantly art to me says animation, says bright colours, says painting, and it looks more like art than Twilight Princess did, and it really drew you into it. Drew you into it. That's really poor grammar there. It was like playing a movie, and by about half an hour into the game, I didn't care that it was cel-shaded because I didn't notice.
And that is it. It's all about the immersion, getting into it. Like, if you look at Phantom Hourglass on DS, it had to look like that. If it looked like Transformers, which I played recently, which avoid at all costs. If you try and play that, I mean, the cars look like Lego.
Yeah.
Right, that's how they look. And like in Phantom Hourglass, I was completely immersed for hours at a time on my DS, and I didn't think the DS would be able to do that to me.
And therein lies another prime example. Lego. You play any Star Wars game, even things like Rogue Leader, and yes, realistic graphics for that universe. It looks really. It was the closest that we've seen to getting into that universe, to flying X-Wings, and it's an absolutely brilliant game.
But it's funny you say that, because that game is actually made by the people who made Lair.
Yeah, it's made by Factor 5.
And it's funny how they've dropped the ball.
Absolutely.
Trying to do something completely different.
They started to drop the ball in Rebel Strike when they tried to branch away from Rogue Leader, but basically it just shows you can't branch away from what you're good at. In this industry, if you're good at something, you do not branch away from it. But Rogue Leader, yes, it was a really realistic game, and that one worked well. But when you look at other ones like Star Wars Episode 3, Clone Wars, Bounty Hunter, all of those look really realistic for that universe. In that, you don't usually get lightsabers, but they looked comparable to the films in terms of modelling, in terms of artistic style, and they weren't fantastic games. Lego Star Wars was a completely different kettle of fish. It looked overly simplistic. It looked really quite creative. It really played up to the whole Lego thing. The animation was great. There were, the cartoons, like the cutscenes, were really well animated, really quite comic. Artistically, it was completely different to the proper Star Wars games. You tell me which was the better title: Bounty Hunter and Clone Wars and all that, or Lego Star Wars?
Lego Star Wars by a mile, James.
Absolutely.
It's just that Lego Star Wars, like, it made fun of Star Wars.
Yeah, it poked fun at
it.
Yeah.
And everyone who loves Star Wars would like play the game and watch the cutscenes and just remember moments of it and just laugh to themselves. Only those people who know Star Wars properly would find those things funny,
Exactly.
It's like a love letter to the fans.
Showing good humour with through your art is a good way of doing things. Paper Mario series, they started as on the 64. That was the tongue-in-cheek, taking the Mickey out of Nintendo, taking the Mickey out of Mario. It was that sort of game. It was Nintendo like having a laugh at themselves. And artistically, it was absolutely brilliant. And they really got into that concept. So when you look at things like Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year-Old Door, when he can fold himself up into a paper plane, and all the things you can do in Super Paper Mario, yes, it doesn't look as realistic as, say, Mario Galaxy, Mario Sunshine, Mario 64, but it allows you to do more things, more things with the game. There was a period, I'll have to admit, where I was more interested in Paper Mario than I was interested in Mario Galaxy. And again, it shows what you can do with like the same character, different models. Mario's been shown realistically in, semi-realistically in his platforming games, 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. He's been shown really quite artistically in Paper Mario, being flat and all that, and then he's been shown ultra realistically in Smash Brothers Melee, Smash Brothers Brawl, in like proper denim, really good detail on the character model, and it completely changes the way you feel about each game. Paper Mario, you look at it because it's artistic, because like the art style is much more vibrant, much more cartoony. You think, right, this game is more like a lot of fun. Because Smash Brothers is so realistic and so gritty, you think, right, this game's going to be really tense.
Yeah, I would just like to say and refer back to Metro Prime 3, and also about the Wii's hardware. Now, just one side note on this thought. I would just like to any listeners out there who don't know the Wii's technical side of things. I won't go too far, but just to kind of lay out the simple areas of it. Basically, what I would like to say is that for all those people who think that the Wii is a very inferior or glorified GameCube, which is many people have been saying, that in fact they are wrong, because I've seen the Wii's like statistics and their stats, and to me it seems that the Wii is definitely by far more powerful than the GameCube. In fact, it is 45% more powerful than the original Xbox. Which to me is, in terms of percentage, is a hell of a lot. And with the case of Metro Prime 3, I feel that if you compare Metro Prime 1 to Metro Prime 3, and a lot of people have been saying, it looks worse, which I can't believe. Well, I think IGN and GameSpot and a few other websites did in fact say that it looked worse than the original Metro, and I can't understand why, because I think quite frankly they were just too much of a bit of a Bioshock thing going on over there. But at the end of the day, don't listen to them, because Metro Prime 3 is a beautiful looking game, stylistically and technically. And it is far surpassed the previous two visually and stylistically, and from a design point of view. So yeah, for anyone who thinks that the Wii is an inferior system, yes, compared to the other two next-gen systems, it quite obviously is, but it is not a glorified GameCube by any means.
Absolutely.
I do think that Bioshock is very artistic as well, don't you think?
No, I do agree with you, Manny.
Like
no,
the way
agree.
you've got it's different kind of different kind of art. It's like art of like the posters on the walls, pictures of people, the decorative actual setting that is in you actually feel like it's 1959. Or do you know what I mean?
I would say that the time period in Bioshock,
that era, the era is done so well.
Yeah, exactly.
The vending
the time
machines,
period in
everything.
Bioshock really does add to the overall look and feel of the game, and it really does immerse you further. And the fact that you're in this sprawling underwater city, you know, of rapture, and you've got all these crazy things just happening even without you knowing, and it creates that almost like a really tense atmosphere when you really don't know what's around the next corridor or corner or behind the sort of glass that's breaking. And yeah, there's a lot of tense atmosphere, and I do believe that more graphics and hardware do give more atmosphere to a game. But I just feel that some companies are kind of losing the whole point of power, whereas with a style you can really create atmosphere even without the best graphics. And if you go back to Resident Evil for the Wii, for example, okay, it's a last gen game, it's been ported to the Wii, but it runs in 40p and it looks just as good as it did. But that game still looks fantastic even after so many years onwards. And it still stands up really, really well to this day. And I think that game still creates really a lot of tension because of its style, and just because of the choices that they made within the level design was key to how everything played out in the game. So I just feel that graphics, there's more to creating an atmosphere or a feeling or an immersive, emotive, like emotion within a person when playing a game than just graphics.
I would completely agree with that, and certainly on Resident Evil 4, because I've been playing that myself. And yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of real and artistic, because yes, Leon looks quite realistic, but the whole game is done in an artistic style, in that you've got just the way that the cutscenes are directed, the way that the little action pieces happen out, when you've got him running away from a boulder, it's quite an artistic shot. The fact that it's down low, so it makes him look slightly more powerful. It's all the stuff you do in media studies. Going back to your comment about how you don't need power to make something look good, to make something more realistic, to make something more atmospheric, I would point to Elder Scrolls series. Now, you guys have heard me going on about these games before. Oblivion, the fourth one, the latest one, available on PS3, Xbox 360, PC, it makes the most of next-gen hardware, and it looks absolutely gorgeous realistic-wise, but I think it looks too realistic, and it automatically gets compared, it brings to mind things like the Lord of the Rings film, or something, something that it's not, it draws you away from the Elder Scrolls universe and closer to other things that it was, whereas Morrowind was completely unique in the way it looked. When you first get onto the shores of Morrowind, and you're wandering around, and you can see the huge tree, and you think it's a tree and it's not, it's a giant mushroom, and you see the great silt striders towering above you, and you look into the night sky and there's 3 moons. You think, my God, I'm in a completely different world. I'm totally and utterly lost. I have stepped into something completely different here. And I like to think that's what they were trying to go for, because the way that the game starts, just dropping you off on this island with no explanation, I like to think that is what they were aiming for. And through the sheer style of the game, they manage it. They knew that they didn't have ultra realistic hardware, so they did their best with the designs of things, and in the end they got the result they were looking for.
I just want to say that was awesome, what you just said, and it really made sense to me when I was thinking about games that I play. I'm a bit choked up.
Okay, don't get sappy. Has anyone else got anything we want to add on this?
Yeah, James, I also want to say about graphics over style. Another point to make is just that if you revert back to the GameCube era, I find that just thinking back to many titles like Star Fox Adventures, Billy Hatch and the Giant Egg, Killer 7, these games and many others along with it, I find that in fact, I would say that the GameCube platform essentially gave way to a lot of new and revitalizing artwork, and within games. Although a lot of people don't, see, computer games as artistic, although they are from several points of view, but they're not art as a whole. But I think that when you have inferior hardware like the Wii, it kind of pushes developers to try something new, and to try and go in a different direction almost from what all the other developers are doing. And there are quite a few Wii games like Mushroom Men, which are, especially third parties, which are really pushing to try and do things that other developers have tried to shy away from, or have maybe perhaps been too, almost been too afraid to try Which so I think this will bring out, especially third and second parties, will definitely bring out some really interesting looking games from an artistic point of view.
Definitely. I'd like to finish off on one more point, and it's the effect of art on gamers. Now, a number of games you get will help you will unlock concept art. I mean, Metroid Prime, for example, was the first game that I really got into that allowed you to unlock concept art, and the idea was that the more you scanned in game, the more concept art you could look at. And I'd flick through it, but I wasn't like overly impressed by it. I didn't really care, and I never really bothered about concept art from that point. And yet, a lot of people spend a lot of time on this artwork, even if they do nothing else towards the game project itself. They are the people that come up with the ideas to beforehand. They're the people that essentially lay out the world, and we only notice their stuff, the fruits of their labours, when we stop and think about it like this. And very few people do stop and think about it. I doubt any of our listeners have sat and thought, "Ooh, I wonder which artistic styles I prefer in games." But when you sit down and look at it, you see how important it is to games and the way they develop. So I'm certainly going to have a much higher opinion of concept art as of now.
I was about to say that. I think that you should just look at Metro Prime, go back and play Metro Prime, and look around, look at the world around you, and look at games today, and see what's changed. Like on the 360 and the PS3, because they nowhere near have the art assets that Retro Studios pull out. They've got the best art house in their development team.
Okay, that wraps up our main discussion, and now it's your turn. We want to know what you think about the issue of artistry versus graphics. Either email into the usual address, weedspodcast@gmail.com, post on the boards, www.weedsforum.com, comment on the website, www.weedspodcast.com. If you've got a Google Mail address registered in your Wii, send us a Wii message. I'd like to see that. Or even better, if you record a 2-minute MP3 with your views and send it in, we will read or play the best ones in a couple of weeks. If you don't know how to do this, go to weedsforum.com. Tom has set up a thread in the announcements section which will tell you how to do that. We're going to move on to the Have Your Say section. First of all, we've got an opinion from last week's discussion on... No, not last week's, the week before's discussion on casual versus hardcore. This is from Kid Dog. He sent us in a voice clip. So let's have a listen to that.
Welcome to BT Answer. You've won. New message. First, new message.
Hey guys, this is Kid Dog from the Cranky Gamers, and I thought I'd jump in on this conversation you've been having about the hardcore versus casual gamers thing, and I've been reading the forums and seeing the posts on the front page and having to talk about it as well, and I thought I'd jump in and let you know what I've been thinking. Well, over the last couple of weeks I've been giving it some thought over what Nintendo is doing, and actually I'm going to have to change my tune, and I think I do owe Nintendo an apology by calling the Wii a fad console. I think what they've done is very clever, and I think within the next year we're not going to be having this argument of whether it matters that this hardcore games aren't coming out and it's only casual, because there will be a mix of both. And I think it's a very smart move on Nintendo's part, because if you take the PC for example, you have a mix of both hardcore and casual games, and it's never hurt the PC gaming wise. So Nintendo's probably just looking to expand the market, and this is how they're going to probably win this generation. Yes, I did say win. They were already outselling the Xbox 360 4-1 and the PlayStation 3 6-1, but no surprise against the PS3, considering it's a little bit on the pricey side. But obviously, there's going to be more casual gamers out there than there is hardcore gamers, and with a good mixture of both hardcore and casual games that the Wii we're going to start seeing offer over the next couple of months. We're not going to be having this argument because both sides are going to be happy. You're going to be having your casual games like Cooking Mama and all that, and you're going to be having your hardcore games, Mario Galaxy, Metroid Prime 3, Corruption. So, I think it's going to be a moot point. I think Nintendo's actually probably pulled off the best coup that they could have done, and no one was giving them a chance this time round. And now all of a sudden, out of the blue, here come Nintendo, and they are basically kicking the crap out of Sony and Microsoft. So, there you go. Hell, it's even got to the point where I'm considering buying a Wii, so... Well, thank you for letting me air on my views. Hopefully I've not gone on too long and given you something to talk about. So, this is Kid Dog from the Cranky Gamers saying, I'll catch you next time, guys.
Thanks for that, Kid Dog. Just a quick shout out to the Cranky Gamers podcast. Don't forget that you guys can check out Cranky Gamers Podcast UK in your iTunes. Do so. I mean, we're good friends with them. I love their podcast. So, yeah, give them a listen. Last week's subject of piracy, we've got 3 opinions. Harry Wee, the forum member who did last week's read review, said, "My personal opinion on piracy is you can burn or copy games for your own use, like backups, but copying a disc of, say, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess and then selling those copies on is illegal. The same with DVDs." Our man in Japan, Alex, said, "I don't like piracy myself, and I think most of the justifications are not valid most of the time. People try to justify it, but let's be honest, it's theft however you look at it. The thing is, it's so far removed from what most of us fine upstanding citizens see as crime that it's pretty much accepted nowadays." And finally, Dippy Doolittle, our beloved editor, said, "What I find ironic was the reason for Manny's absence was his machine, which had been hit by a virus. And then he spoke about all the dodgy stuff he downloads. What goes around comes around." How would you respond to this, Manny?
You know what? I'm just going to dig myself a massive hole, so I'm just going to say, no comment.
Fair enough. Okay, we're going to move on to what we've been playing. Okay, Tom has had to drop out halfway through, so we won't be hearing from him. But Jason, what have you been playing this week?
This week, not so much Wii games, but I have in fact been playing quite a few GameCube games. I've got a hell of a lot back into Tales of Symphonia, and I am now in fact on my second disc, because it's a game I've always been meaning to finish, but I never really got around to it, and it's really frustrated the hell out of me for a long time. So yeah, I'm getting really back into that, and I'm on the second disc, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. Other than that, I've been playing. I actually went back to Lego Star Wars 2, and I did a bit of that in co-op a couple of nights ago when I had a mate round. It was a very good laugh. And other than that, I think on my 360, I've been playing a little bit of Tenchu Z, which is like a fairly new game, which is out for the Xbox 360, and you can play it over live. And from a DS, I actually bought an old, well not so much old, but it was like a old DS game called 03, which is part of the Mega Man series, but it's really, really hard, and I'm having a lot of trouble on that. So yeah, that's pretty much for me this week.
Don't forget Skate.
Oh yeah, and Skate 2, the demo, that was awesome as well.
Is that any good? Because I know, skateboarding games have gone a bit downhill recently.
Yeah.
I was actually checking out gamespress.com. I knew that Tony Hawk's games had been quite regular, but I didn't realise until I checked out the site that there's been a Tony Hawk's game every single year for the last 7 years. No wonder we're getting bored of them.
I know. I mean, to be honest, I'm not really a big skateboard fan myself, and in fact, I'm really not. I hate them. Well, especially the Tony Hawk ones, because ever since the PS1, there really hasn't been any sort of major changes other than this whole, like GTA sandbox style sprawling world that you can do, and all this realism aspects that come into it, which really just bore the hell out of me, to be quite honest. But with Skate, it's probably the first time in several years that it really brought me into it, and I thought, wow, this is great fun, and the controls are just so intuitive, they're so easy to use. Like, use the right stick to sort of move your character up and down and like perform tricks, and use the left stick to kind of steer them, and you use like the X button and the A button to push your board along. It's just really, and of course use like the trigger buttons to grab and do the other like combinations. It really feels just so easy to do, instead of like with Tony Hawk's we had to just use all these really complex button combinations, and it kind of felt like as if you were like in a fighting game, you had to like X up down triangle, all this rubbish, But yeah, it really does feel like a really as if they're onto a winner. I think definitely.
Do you know what? I think it feels really down to earth. It feels organic, and it doesn't feel like you're just pressing button combination. It feels like your finesse, like the finesse that you have on the analog controls. Like to manual in Tony Hawk's, you have to like ollie and then press up and down, and then when you land, you perform a manual. Or press up and down just standing and you do a manual. But in this, you have to like find, it's like the clutch on a car. You have to find the biting point of where
That's right, yeah.
it is in the board on the right analog stick.
Yep.
So if you tilt all the way down, you crouch down to ollie. But if you tilt down very slightly and just at a certain angle, you'll start to manual instead of ollie, because you're not pushing your weight quickly on the board. You're just shifting it slowly.
That's right, yeah. I mean, essentially, the game really does feel as if you're actually in control of your character, and not just a case of just putting lots of button combos in, like a beat 'em up of like back in the 80s or something like that.
Yeah.
So, at the risk of sounding like a noob, is this coming to Wii? Is this coming to Nintendo consoles, or is it just a next-gen only game?
I believe it's definitely just an exclusive to Xbox 360.
Okay, fair enough. Manny, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I've been playing. Actually, I've been just like Jason. I've been playing a lot more GameCube, which is weird because Ben made the comment this week that we've all got Wii's and we're all playing GameCube games.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's
Yeah,
part of what the Wii is.
Oh, it's
I
great.
know, it's awesome
It's
that
awesome.
we can actually do that because the PS3 lot can't.
Exactly. It's like exactly. I mean, the Wii is the only console with 100% backwards compatibility.
Completely.
Why the hell
I
shouldn't
think
we make the use of
that
it?
should be applauded.
We still. I mean, me and my family still play Mario Kart Double Dash All Star Cup. You know, and despite the fact that Mario Kart Wii's coming out soon, we're still going to be playing that right up until release. We might even be playing that after we get Mario Kart Wii because it is such a good game.
Yeah, it is. I've been playing, actually, on the GameCube, I've been playing Metroid Prime. I started on Sunday, and it's Tuesday now, and I'm about 90% through.
You need help.
Yeah, I haven't been doing
For a
anything
job.
but really playing Metroid. I love it so
Jeez.
much.
I would love to do that. I would love to have the time. I think when I finish my job, I'm going to sit down with... Because if there's one game you could sit down with and try and complete in like 1 or 2 days,
Metroid.
it's Metroid Prime. Because you could just sit there. I mean, I used to think that, Ocarina of Time obviously is like the game that everyone says they'd take with them to like the desert island. But Metroid Prime, you can just sit and lose yourself in it for hours and get so much done, and you just think, oh, I'll just go one more.
Yeah,
One
it's
more
got that
bit.
one more
Yeah,
go factor.
One more bit.
Yeah, the one more
Definitely.
go factor is
Yeah.
definitely there all the time.
I'm definitely going to have to slap that into my Wii for a while because I want to get that finished before Metroid Prime
Big
3
one
comes out.
arise. Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing Bioshock, and it's Bioshock which has actually inspired me to go back, and also the Metroid Prime 3 Corruption videos on the net and reviews,
Of
which
course.
inspired me to go back and play this absolute masterpiece, I have to say. Like, I keep saying
Relive.
it, but
It is a
it is an
masterpiece.
absolute masterpiece.
Relive
And
the epic.
People are saying the third one is better than the first one, and that's mind-blowing for me. Completely.
I'm going to reserve judgment on
Yeah.
that until I play it because people said that the second one was better than the first one and it wasn't.
No, no one ever said that. Who said that?
Okay, I just read really bad reviews then. I swear someone that I read that, or some website that I saw said Metroid Prime 2 is even better than the first one, and it wasn't.
to be
I was
fair-
completely deluded.
To be fair, I think Metroid Prime 2 is the Majora's Mask of Metroid, and people won't think it's that great. Like, when it came out, people didn't think it was that great, but critics claimed it really high. And in GameRankings.com, it's like 92% average, which is amazing for a game that people don't even like. And I think in like 5 years from now, people will be going back and saying, "Oh my god, Metroid Prime 2 was amazing."
Yeah, I mean, it's still a great game, but at the end of the day, I mean, whatever website that you were on, James, I think the guys that reviewed it were absolutely on crack, to be quite
They were
honest.
high. Yeah, anyway, I've been playing Metroid, but I'm trying to do it as fast as possible. I'm about
Yeah,
5
I think
hours, 48
2
minutes.
days is quite an impressive achievement. I doubt there's many people who could beat that.
I did hard mode in 9 hours without any sequence breaking. I don't even know how to sequence break.
Wow.
Jesus.
That's
But,
unbelievable.
yeah, I'm trying to do this. I wanted to do it under 6 hours, but I think I'm gonna try and beat my 9 hours on hard. Which is stupid. I should be able to do it much quicker.
I don't think so. I don't think Nintendo spent 2-3 years developing Metroid Prime only to have you break it in less than a half a day.
But you don't know how much it pains me to know that someone's completed it in 2 hours 46 minutes.
Jesus,
And
now that person needs a life.
I've watched the video, and it's insane the stuff that you can do.
Christ.
Yeah, but that's not with everything like 100% complete. Definitely not.
No. I'm not going for 100% complete. Hell no.
Yeah, but how many people complete 100% complete on the first go through?
Don't think anyone.
Personally,
only Ben with his strategy guides.
I don't think that quite counts.
Oh, I have to
Personally-
add one more thing. Sorry, I
Okay,
did play Tales of Symphonia just like Jason.
Oh,
again.
good boy,
But
yes.
no, wait, you got to hear this. I played it for about an hour, and then all my party died, and then I was in the first dungeon, and Kratos was the only one left, and he was controlled by AI. So he just killed everyone for me as I was walking through, and I came out, and then there was a cutscene, and then I was walking out of the dungeon, like into the, the field. What do you call
Yeah.
it? The map.
Overworld.
Map area, map world. And I was walking, the hub world, yeah, and I was walking along it, and there was an enemy, and it came attack me, and I didn't realise that my character would only have 1 health point, and I died, and then it loaded all the way back in the temple, and I was like, hell no! Tales of Symphonia is never going to be played by me again. Sorry.
Jesus. I hate that when
I
you
can't
like,
get
when
into
you,
it. I can't.
when you don't know that you have to save, or you don't realise, you forget that you haven't saved, and you lose like an hour or two's worth of work. It's painful. Personally, I've been playing my DS this week. That is all I've had time to play. I've been playing it on the train. I've been playing Pokemon, obviously. Still slugging on with that. I'm still enjoying it, actually. I mean, I'm still in the first half of the quest, so that's when I tend to enjoy it. It's when I get past like the 4th or 5th badge that I start to lose interest. But what strikes me is, there's quite a lot to do. The Team Galactic stuff is quite thick and fast in the early stage of the quest. Then I bought the fantastic Worms Open Warfare 2. Worms is just built for the DS because it's a point-and-click console, and it's easy to play on the go. I mean, I've got Worms on my phone, but it drains the battery. I've got Worms on my laptop, but it takes ages to load up. So I love the fact that I finally have Worms on the go on my DS. Other than that, I've just borrowed the office copy of Yoshi's Island DS. We've got a bit of a challenge going at In Stock Magazine in that the editor borrowed Yoshi's Island DS and only got so far. The staff writer then borrowed it and then got a little further than her. So now they've challenged me to try and beat him. So I'm going to have a go at that. But that's all I've played.
It starts off easy, it gets okay, and then the last world is extremely hard. Like, extremely. So get ready for that. Like,
Well, we'll
yeah,
see when I get there. I haven't even got through the tutorial yet. So I literally turned it on just before recording, and then I thought, oh no, hold on, I've got a podcast to do.
So I don't get you.
That's okay. That's okay. I consider myself warned. Okay, our man in Japan has a bit of a bee in his bonnet this week. Alex, what's up? Not enough DS Lite colour choices?
We get most games before any other region. We get the best colour variations for hardware. We even get some huge games which never see a release anywhere else. So, you think it's all beer and skittles out in Japan, the home of gaming? Well, this week I'm going to give you 6 reasons to be cheerful.
Okay, I could do with cheering up. Away you go.
Reason 1. Hardware launches. Times have changed for Nintendo. Foreign markets are so important that Japan doesn't always come first. This is especially true when it comes to hardware. The DS was released November 21st, 2004 in North America, while we had to wait until December 2nd. The Wii hit North America November 19th, 2006, and Japan on December 2nd, with no Wii Sports pack-in. The tide is turning, and it leads on to my second reason. Reason 2. Software launches. Metroid Prime Hunters was available in the form of a demo everywhere except Japan. All regions got the full game between March 20th and May 25th. The game was available here, in Japan, on June 1st. I had to import it. I still feel dirty. Release dates for the big 3 first-party titles this year are known for regions outside Japan, but we are still in the dark, as far as Nintendo's website is concerned anyway. We'll get Mario Strikers this month, long after the traditional Whipping Boys in Europe. This brings me to my third reason. Reason 3. Community. Take a look at the Nintendo of America website or the Nintendo Europe website and you'll see tons of content, tons of good, interesting content. You can rate games, read reviews, even download manuals. The best thing is the leaderboards and stats for the Wi-Fi connection sites. There are no well-organized forums here and no real sense of community. The infamous Need channel is an eye-straining mess and not the kind of place I'd want to spend my time.
Alright, keep going.
Reason 4. Magazines. As I mentioned in a previous episode, magazines here are just glorified picture books. Very little actual journalism goes on, except for the odd interview. Reviews are nothing you couldn't find on any forum or blog anywhere, and the target audience is invariably 11 and under. Reason 5. Rentals. In more sensible countries, people are lucky enough to be able to rent games before they buy them in order to try them out and avoid wasting their cash. Not so here. Things are locked down so tight, the only way to really know if you like a game is to buy it yourself or have a friend do so and borrow it from them.
This is actually making me feel quite good. How about the last reason?
Reason 6. Non-games. Walk into most well-stocked shops and you'll see wall upon wall, shelf upon shelf, row upon row of DS games. Trouble is, most of them are utter tripe. There are games that teach you how to make cocktails, games that simulate the thrill and excitement of the stock market, about 10 Nintendo rip-offs, spot the difference puzzles, skincare help, face training, painting by numbers. I could go on. So, you see, the grass may look greener on this side, but I think you'll find the odd dandelion and molehill here too, not to mention numerous Nintendo poos. Mataraishu!
Thanks, Alex. Now we're all in a cheerful mood. Okay, before we move on, we have this week's Virtual Console releases. There are 5 titles available this week, all available from the Mega Drive. Each for 800 points. You've got Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Ghouls and Ghosts, Shining in the Darkness, eSWAT City Under Siege, and Crackdown, not to be mistaken with the Xbox 360 title, of course. If you would like to get involved with the show, email the team at weedspodcast@gmail.com or come and make your suggestions at weedsforum.com. We'd like to have some Wii, Virtual Console or DS reviews from you guys, like we had from Harry Wee last week. And if you've been lucky enough to playtest a game, let us know. We really want to hear about this. If you've got a question for the hosts or you want to ask our opinion on something, write it down or record it and send it in to us. Or if you want to voice your own opinion on a Nintendo issue, whether it's our main discussion or it's not, let us know and send it in. We look forward to hearing from you. And I think that wraps it up for the week. Yeah. I think that was pretty damn good. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. Apologies for last week's episode. We had some slight problems when Manny had to leave, Tom had to leave. It completely disrupted the show. Skype corrupted Marty's audio. That's why she sounded like she was in a tin. Although it's really tempting to say that we just put her in a rubber room, and a straitjacket because of her whole Pokemon. Anyone who goes to a festival dressed as Eevee and then dressing her boyfriend as, what's the name of it? She told me earlier, Luve, some electric Pokemon. Anyone who does that needs to be locked up.
And you know what? He wasn't forced. It was his idea.
I know. That's just worrying.
That was the mind.
The pair of them need to go to a rehab. They need to go to a rehab, the pair of them.
She actually has a Nintendo Rehab T-shirt.
Oh, yes.
I think we need to tell Nintendo so that they can see, so that they know who she is when they pick her up.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, she's the one wearing the Nintendo Rehab T-shirt. Yes.
Speaking of mental, I mean, today Jason said to me, "Oh my God, man, you're never gonna believe this. Final Fantasy 13 is no longer exclusive to PS3 and it's coming to Xbox 360." And I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God!" And then Ben came on, and then then I invited Ben into the call, and then Ben was like, "Oh my God, no way, no way." And then I looked at the date, and it said March 22nd, 2007.
Yeah, March. Yes.
And I was all hyped up, oh my God, they've only got Metal Gear now. But no.
Yeah.
Mental.
And that will wrap it up. Thanks to you guys for listening. Don't forget to send in your views, and we will see you next week.
See you guys.
Take care now.
Cheese cob.
Cheese cob. God, that's going back a bit.